if the uncle will have the bow as well, which is a possibility in this version of the randomizer. As we do get on the way, we will get
the bow is one of the great items to get, just because you can route in Eastern really well after you finish up Escape and Kakariko.
Definitely. Here we see only a $5 in the Link's chest here. Not much of value, but of course we will be working towards the money goals for this seed. Of course, starting with the bottle vendor here. All right, please bear with us as we sync up both those streams. There we go. As both runners will be heading into the escape sequence here. It'll be interesting to see what weapon Uncle gives. And it's the bomb.
Everybody's favorite start. I know that I personally despise getting this start.
I can really imagine so, but fortunately I did see one of our runners before the race having a little bit of practice with the bomb strats. So it will be interesting to see whether or not they will be able to execute it properly. Of course, bombs, one of the more tedious ones, actually have to wait for the fuse to go out. And of course, you don't want to use all of them in one place. Thankfully, though... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just find myself... I don't think it's too difficult killing the guards, but I find myself just getting knocked into the bomb recoil and losing a lot of damage and just dying. I think that's the hardest part for me personally with bomb escape.
That is definitely a big risk as well. But of course, if you end up to run out of bombs, you luckily have the option to save and quit, which will return your lost bombs to you.
Ooh, and Aestolia almost got the really quick kill on the bomb with the setup. Just the first bomb was placed, I think, a little bit too early to get the quick kill.
Both the runners are having a bit of trouble with the first guard here.
So you need a minimum of 6 bombs to get through Escape. So they have 4 bombs they can kind of waste if they accidentally mess up or something. But yeah, as we mentioned, that if the runners do run out of bombs, it's not a soft lock. They can always save and quit, and they will get their bombs replenished. Although they do have to go through the Escape again, though.
Aestolia coming up on the boomerang chest here. Who unfortunately misses the first bomb here. Maligord swiftly taking care. We'll be in the same room as well. We have not seen what's in the chest yet. So there's only 50 rupees. Of course, I say only, but at this point in the game, our runners will take every little bit of money that they can get.
And so Maligord only has 1 bomb left, and he still needs to kill that rat in the sewer to get that key, and he only has 1 chance to do it unless he finds either a weapon or some more bombs. So he has to be a little bit careful there.
Ooh, interesting indeed. Runners will opt to avoid the first guard. Of course, using a pot is a completely valid strat, as well as using the pots on the ball and chain guard. It will take 2 of them. And it is technically the slowest of the methods to kill the ball and chain guard, but definitely the safest, considering the limited amount of ammunition.
And he gets a bomb drop, so he has a little bit of safety going into the rat room. So they both have 2 bombs. Shouldn't see anybody, you know. The rat does give people a little bit of issues, just because you don't know exactly which rat has the key, and they move really erratically. So we'll have to see if they can get the rat.
Yes, so to elaborate on that, the rats are a pretty random enemy. They will start moving in a random cardinal direction, but if they hit a wall, they will always turn clockwise. So you can use that to your advantage to kind of place a bomb in its path if you see it moving towards a wall. But of course, it'll be difficult to do within the dark room as you have a limited cone of vision.
Yeah, one of my favorite strats to do in the with the rat is pick up a bomb and kind of run into the rat. So you only take a little bit of damage, but the bomb will drop right on the rat and guarantee the kind of like the kill on it.
That is definitely an interesting strategy. It will be interesting to see if either of the runners will go for that strat. It looked like Aestolia is coming up on that very same rat here. Of course, this bomb is known for having the longest fuse in the game. As we get our runners synced back here.
This suspense is killing me.
And that's exactly what the strat that you suggested, running into the rats and having the bomb do all the work. Of course, now with the access bomb, they do have the opportunity to check these 3 chests here. As we find not much of value.
That was absolutely worthless. Oh, Maligord only has 1 bomb left. He has to be pretty careful here.
Now it's going to be a guessing game of which rat is... Oh no, he doesn't have anything left and no items. That is very unfortunate. Meanwhile though, Aestolia getting through escape with a pretty solid time for a bomb escape.
Yeah, luckily the save and quit, if you pick up Zelda and get to the sewers, you'll end up back here at the throne room, so it's not too far of a walk. It's worse if you kind of die in Zelda's cell before you kill the guard picker up, because then you'll be teleported back to the beginning of the game.
Meanwhile, we do see Aestolia making her way over to the Hyrulean world. We'll be taking a couple of few checks here. We'll probably be seeing the Lumberjack Cave as well as the Lost Woods here. And I also forgot to mention the Sanctuary chest had 300 rupees, so our runners are, for the early part of the game at least, pretty settled for money.
Ooh, and Maligord kills the wrong rat. This is getting pretty dicey. Oh, and he runs out of bombs again.
Oh, you really hate to see this. Meanwhile, though, Aestolia finding out that there are only, I believe that was a bundle of 10 arrows there on the Lumberjack Cave here. We will definitely not see Aghanim for that, as we find a full heart in the Lost Woods. We'll be opting to pick it up. At this point, having only 3 hearts, that is definitely a solid choice, and probably any runner would go for a 3 heart container. Maybe not so much a heart piece. As we
You never know what the go ahead.
As we find the Rad Boomerang here, of course, the one that will lag the game the most as well, due to it having colorful little sparkles.
Yeah. Most people prefer the blue boomerang because of the lag, and also that you can use the short range to kind of use some cool strats in GT.
Yes, I prefer the blue boomerang because blue is my favorite color.
Me too.
That's all the reason I have for liking the blue one more. Meanwhile, Aestolia, having ran out of bombs here, is going to opt to buy some more bombs. As Maligord unfortunately runs out of bombs again. This is a very brutal start for Maligord here. Of course, the bomb strategies are anything but easy.
Yeah, the bombing the rat is pretty much the most notorious part of bomb escape, and that's pretty much the real reason why people dislike having bombs as a start, even though it does get you access to the back 3 chests.
Meanwhile, only a 20 rupee in the chicken nut here as Aestolia makes her way up to the north part of the Kakarika village here.
So far, we haven't found anything, but we haven't really hit the bulk of the chests in the well and Blind's hut, so we'll have to see if there's any progression there.
Definitely a valuable heart there built from the bottle vendor. Of course, not an unwelcome item. Maligord. Oh, unfortunately, the last bomb again has to up the saving quid, get the bomb refill, and try again, as the well has a piece of heart.
Yeah, it used to be the case when V29 came out that saving and quitting won't do anything to refill your bombs. You would have to kind of reset your game, start a new file, and start all the way from the beginning. And because of pretty much because of bomb escape, the devs put in a little bit of a safety so that if you do run out, you don't have to start all the way over from the beginning.
Yes, that would definitely be an even bigger time loss. As we will see the blinds here from Aestolia. 5 items in here, easily accessible. So far, oh, the hook shot though, and the boots.
Blind's hut. Oh, and the gloves.
Glove.
There's
Oh
all our value. The new hype cave is actually in someone's basement.
Oh my, that is a shack full of items. 3 items here out of the 5 chests. Of course, both of our runners will be happy to gain that first piece to the Dark World puzzle, of course, with the Power Glove. Now, one nice thing of getting the boots early is the library item is already within logic.
Just 10 arrows, though.
Definitely not worth the time to pick it up.
And it looked like Aestolia was going to go for the blind race game. I personally do not like going for it blind, but actually, since they have boots, they don't actually have to waste a bomb opening that door right there, so not too big of a loss there if it ends up being nothing.
That is true. Of course, the blind race game is a bit more common in the key sanity variation, as there are a lot of small keys and items that are shuffled within the item randomizer as well. Now, with that being said, I do believe that Aestolia is going to do the South Shore loop here. Does still need about 150 rupees to unlock the Zora item. Of course, we don't have the flippers, but our runners can opt to perform a minor glitch by way of fake flippering. Meanwhile, these rats giving Maligord quite some trouble here. We'll be heading in for another round as Aestolia drains the dam.
Yeah, he's been getting the rat, but I think he's been getting the wrong rat, so it's been a little bit rough for him there.
Yes, I don't know exactly how many rats are in that room, but they can very quickly, very fast just run around each other, and then you just don't know which one is which. A soggy 20 quid here from the dam pool.
And Maligord gets the key, and he is off to the back of Escape. Props to him for keeping this up.
Definitely having a sub 15-minute escape is obviously not ideal, but at this point, I think that Maligord is just happy that he got past the rat gate. Meanwhile, though, Aestolia taking care of the Muldum Cave so far. Oh wow, only getting rupees and a mail upgrade as we see a golden Navy. Navy? I don't know how to pronounce.
I've always said Navi, so I'm not really sure what the correct pronunciation is.
Now, it does look like we will be getting some fake flipper. Oh, never mind. I am mistaken. I thought I saw Aestolia set up there for the fake flippers. Instead, we'll opt to check out the Ice Rock Cave. Of course, with the boots, it is a very quick check. Meanwhile, as Maligord makes his way up the North Loop here.
And Aestolia looks like not gonna do the fake flippers and decide to stay in sequence for the moment.
Yes, which in all is not a bad choice either, because going out of sequence can obviously yield you with items you're not supposed to have, but it can also send you on a wild goose chase if you get something like mushroom book or the shovel if they don't lead to anything required.
And just a big 20 in Bonk Rocks. Little bit of indecision, but it looks like Aestolia is gonna make her way towards the Zora area, maybe, perhaps.
I do believe with the equip of the hook shot, this is another one of these one of those funny ways that you can get around the world with a very specific set of items. Like the way this game has been developed is pretty modular in the way of certain paths requiring certain items, as well as item combinations that in a normal playthrough are highly unlikely to occur.
So at this moment, other than Zora and I guess Agana, the seed really just wants you to go to Sahasrahla and Eastern, because we haven't really unlocked anything, and that was a really quick map check.
I believe I believe I saw a pendant at Desert and a crystal at Hera, but I couldn't see any of the colors or if that is actually correct. But I do believe that. Yes, our tracker confirms that is exactly correct, as we get a 10% discount on our item here. Oh, meanwhile, Maligord gets the Moon Pearl. Will be getting his Bloomer upgrade boots as well as the hook shot, I believe, from Blindfold there. And as you mentioned, it does look like Aestolia is taking up this seat's offer on Eastern Palace. At this point, there is not much that our runners that Aestolia can go here, but.
One good thing about getting both the boots and the hook shot early is that you can do the hook dash and get the spin speed off of any. And there's the flute in back of Sahasrahla.
That is an amazing find as well. Please bear with us here as we will be syncing Aestolia stream up with Maligord's again. as we did get out of sync a little bit. Looks like Aestolia is going to opt to activate the loop immediately.
Yeah, and with that hook shot, they can get pretty much most of the Death Mountain area. The only place they don't have access to right now is Tower of Hera.
Yes, they can get all of the chests within the hook shot. Sorry, within the I'm losing my words there. In the Paradox Cave, that's...
Yes, indeed.
Wow, it is very late for me. But nonetheless, we have Aestolia here activating the duck here. The goose is loose. The pheasant is present. The duck is amok. I'm gonna stop now.
I like that last one. You don't really have that many situations in real life to use the word amok.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the more archaic English words. So we do see the first Death Mountain peak here from Aestolia.
Opts not to save the old man to get that save point, but with the flute, it's not too big a deal to get back up here.
And it does look like Maligord is foregoing the flute here, opting to take the dark room. Most likely due to the fact that he is going to feel behind after his bomb mishap in the escape sequence. Is going to take a bit of a more unorthodox route here, as we do find a bottle inside of Spectacle Rock here.
And that's our first bottle, so that also opens up Sick Kid. If anything good does happen to be up on Death Mountain, though, Maligord will be right back in it, because the South Hyrule route didn't really give them anything, really.
No, besides the blue mill from the Minden Waldorn Cave, there was pretty much not much of anything. Unfortunately, we cannot get into the Dark World yet, as the portal across the bridge here requires the Titansmiths, or the rock is still too heavy for us at the moment. Meanwhile, Aestolia in the Paradox Cave here will be getting 7 items as well.
And Maligord decides to forgo the bottle in Spectacle Rock. We'll see if he goes back for that, or if he decides to leave it all together as a gamble. As we get a little bit of sync in Paradox Cave. So nothing really but that sword.
Of course, that sword is nothing to sneeze at, but at the moment our runners will be looking for quite a different set of items, frankly. But a sword is always welcome. As we do see a red boomerang strand there.
It does make navigating dark rooms easier, so when I believe, unless there's something in Spiral, they'll probably be heading over to Eastern. And that sword will help them navigate the dark rooms over there.
Yes, Aestolia bunking to get that ferry, as we see a medallion on top of the hookshot cave here. I believe that was Quake.
There's a good chance that it'll be relevant, but we'll have to see once we get the mitts and we can check both the medallion dungeons.
Yes, of course, we still need that Dark World access. And, well, speaking of which, there it is, the Titan's Myths in the Spiral Cave.
Commentator's blessing right there.
Definitely so, and I do believe that will see Maligord taking this opportunity to go into the Dark World. As we do get Maligord's first map check here, confirming that both Hera as well. Oh, meanwhile though, a Dark World. We have not seen that. I believe that was Turtle Rock Green, Swamp and Mire the red crystals, as well as a blue pendant on Skullwoods.
You hate seeing a pendant Turtle Rock because you know that it's going to be required in some way or another.
Yes, that means that we'll find Ice Rod in the brewery. I'm going to be a bit unorthodox and call the brewery for Ice Rod.
That's a good location for it. It's early enough that people will start to wonder if Turtle Rock will be required.
Yes, of course, Turtle Rock is one of those dungeons that runners would rather not. As we find the hammer as well as the third male upgrade here. Of course, it is Maligord's.
Benny Cave coming in hot.
As well as the flippers. I completely missed those. Only a piece of heart in the brewery, though.
So a lot of the world is starting to open up to us. They can dip into a lot of these dungeons in here. So it's a pretty open seed right now.
Definitely, which can be both a blessing as well as a curse. If there is just this one item that it's just in this one awkward spot that you don't decide to check. Now, we do see our first dive here into the Gargoyle's Lair, better known as Thieves Town. Of course, the first 4 chests here will always at least house the big key to enter the back of the dungeon. So a potential for 3 items here.
And Maligord doesn't have the hammer yet, so if something ends up being in that big chest, it might be spell a little bit of trouble for him.
That is very true, as Aestolia realizes that she does not have the Mire yet. So that Quake Medallion will be just out of reach. As we get a vanilla big key here in Thieves Town. Looks like Maligord is opting to continue on with the dungeon. Of course, it being a crystal is definitely worth it to only go in here once. Of course, if there is something in the big chest, as you mentioned, then this might be troublesome for Maligord here.
Yeah, but since he didn't find the key in the first 4 chests, there's only really one spot in the back half that can actually have the small key, and that's the cell where Blind is at. None of the other... I guess it could also be locked in the big chest, which would be fortunate for him, but there's actually a really good chance that he won't actually have to check the big key, probability-wise.
Yes, for Maligord's sake, we will hope that that will be the case, as we find a not-so-hype Hype Cave today. A lot of love, though, from the Hype Cave.
Yeah, I'm personally a fan of kind of doing the South Dark World route once you have Dark World access, just because there's so many chests you can check in Hype Cave, and as well as, you know, Stumpy, Digging Game, all that stuff. And if there happens to be something that'll help you kind of route better in the rest of the game, it'll benefit you greatly. But I've seen people, go more for that early Village of Outcasts Skullwoods play and kind of make a more efficient route down the south route.
Yes, definitely a large quantity of items. Of course, very similar to what Kakariko is to the early game. Once you have Dark World access, you can pretty much check the entire south of the Dark World here. So we do get our first digging game here from Aestolia.
Alright, if this chest that Maligord's going to open doesn't have a small key, then he's safe. And it's a heart container, so that means the small key is indeed locked inside the big chest.
I'm sure Maligord is happy to find that, as I believe we got the full 30 digs here at the digging game, only for an arrow upgrade, so not really worth it. Meanwhile, Aestolia making her Village of Outcasts loop as Maligord takes on blind. Of course, a little interesting fact about this fight is that with a casual playthrough, it might be a complete bullet hell, but it is actually possible if executed the exact same every time. The exact same pattern will emerge from blind here, as Maligord does take down the third phase here. Will be receiving his first crystal at half an hour in.
Yeah, that's considering all the shenanigans that happened at Escape, that's a really, really fast first crystal for him.
Definitely, of course, Aestolia still has yet to get a crystal, but at this point in the race, it is still too early to call any sort of lead. As Aestolia does pick up the red mail, turning into, I believe that is Tattle from Majora's Mask. One of the two, Tail or Tattle. I'm sure chat will correct us on that one.
It's been forever since I've played Majora's Mask, so I won't be able to tell you.
Meanwhile, Maligord will be getting his 30 digs in here. As chat does confirm that it is Tattle.
Oh, what does Navi turn into as a bunny? It was just like a big ball of, I don't even know what that was.
Looking at the restream here, I don't recognize that from any of the Zelda games. No, I can't think of anything. It may be in Ocarina of Time, I believe you can play the Sun Song at certain spots to make a little glowing orb appear.
Oh, as chat tells us that it's the C up button that's used to talk to Navi.
Oh yeah, that is actually more fitting. Never mind my analysis there. It's a little bit hard
That's
to see.
actually hilarious.
Of course, I would like to take this moment to give a shout out to all of these sprite developers. Of course, without them, none of these fun sprites would be possible, as we see Navi on Aestolia side, as well as the Pug emote from Maligord. Of course, every emote has been customized to include all of the animations, including different bunny sprites, as well as death animations. Meanwhile, though, we will see Maligord tracing in Aestolia's footsteps here. Gets the nice block clip in order to only have to make one trip into the dam here.
Yeah, the timing for that clip is actually a little bit tricky because you have to open the chest pretty much immediately after you clip into the block, and then have the directional input be right or left after that.
Yes, to elaborate a bit more is the way that the game handles blocks is a bit creative. When blocks are stationary, they are considered just solid objects, so items cannot be used through them. But once a block is moving, the game will replace it with a sprite. And since it is a sprite, items can be used through it, which leads to, as you saw, the hookshot clip, as well as certain uses in Misery Mire with the fire rod.
So a lot of V29 seeds I've seen have been kind of front-loaded with all these items, but right now the runners don't actually have too many items. When you look at Maligord's menu, you only saw there were actually 3 wide items that he could actually select from. So we might start seeing people dip into dungeons they can't finish.
Yes, this seed very well might require a couple of forced double dips, maybe even triple dips. I mean, so far this seed has been probably one of the more healthier seeds that I've seen, already being on red meal as well as 12 hearts there.
And it looks like Maligord is going to set up for the fake flippers. Let's see if that sequence break ends up paying off for him.
Yes, of course, the Zora item is within logic, but Maligord does not know of the flippers in the Super Bunny Cave. Still has not gone to that location. So it will be interesting to see what we can find here. Of course, also having that Moonpro, we'll be able to check the waterfall cave here, as there's only a piece of heart on Lake Hylia Island.
And Aestolia takes down Blind, no problem. Red mail definitely helps in this fight. Just an arrow upgrade from Hobo, so not paying off just yet.
Yes, unfortunately, we can't get a timestamp on the crystal collection here because the timer has magically disappeared. Although no problem for our runners though, as we do see Aestolia taking care of Jeremiah here.
And with that flute, she can just save and quit, flute back to Kakariko, and deliver the frog really quickly. So it's a pretty good play. If Mire ends up being, either at Smith's or Purple Chest, which has happened before. Ooh, and Maligord gets the unfortunate heart refill. Once you're in the water walk state and you get a piece of heart that refills your health, you will automatically go back to swimming in the cave.
Yes, a full heart restore will prompt the game to kind of reset your state. Of course, it is the incorrect state as being swimming, but it is just one of those little quirks of this game. Meanwhile, we do see the Sicket check here. Only a 20 rupee here, but we will also see. Oh no, we're not yet seeing the frog being delivered. Oh no, never mind. Disregard everything I said. We are getting a frog check. So again,
just a red rupee. Just seeing that frustration slash and delivering the frog all the way back, being rewarded with a net total of 10 rupees.
Oh my god, another red rupee. Now, this has been our first visit to the desert area, though, as Aestolia opts to check out Mire after taking a look at the desert ledge item.
And it is ether required for Mire, so that quake up on floating island is 100% not necessary now, because Bombos is needed for Total Rock.
That is correct, as we do see Maligord picking up his flute here. We'll be very happy to find that. We'll activate that also immediately.
Yeah, so meanwhile, Aestolia is gonna do all the stuff the Maligord did with fake flippers, but with the real flippers. Where is our next progression item?
Now, this to me is pretty interesting because there are a lot of items that that will give us progression. For example, with the bow, we can full clear the Eastern Palace, as well as the cane will. No, not yet. We still need, of course, we still need the medallion to get into both Turtle Rock as well as Mire. But once we found that and the cane, then those two dungeons are also up for negotiation.
Yeah, so other than, I guess, Pyramid, Catfish, and I guess King's Tomb, they're gonna start having to dive into dungeons they can't finish on the first go.
Yes, definitely a couple of forced double dips here. As we do see Aestolia checking out the Waterfall Fairy Cave, does not get put into the swimming state due to having the flippers, not requiring the fake flipper state here. As it does look like Maligord is going to be picking up his hammer here.
He'll be very happy to see that. At this point, Maligord isn't too far behind right now. I think after he gets his hammer and his flippers, they'll have checked about the same amount of places.
We do see Aestolia taking a peek into Skull Woods as Maligord gets both his flippers as well as his hammer. So far, only a small key, which will make the routing within this dungeon another small key. Small keys will make routing this dungeon a bit easier, as it allows you to take a couple shortcuts.
Yeah, I'm actually a fan of dipping Skullwoods pretty early because the chests you can get, they don't have any requisites other than, at least the first half doesn't have any requisites other than, you know, just Dark World access. So there's a decent chance that there's something in here because it can be a lot of different things.
Definitely, as we do see the Master Sword here within the big chest, Aestolia doing an expertly bomb jump here to retrieve that sword. Now,
Yeah,
one
so
might be able to call
go
that
ahead, go ahead.
the other sword, as it is in the dark counterpart of the Lost Woods here. Of course, a little bit of cheating. It's not the exact same spot, of course, but spiritually.
It works out.
god.
We'll have to keep a close eye on where Maligord ended up going.
Of course, with that red potion found in Spectacle Rock, we'll be checking Sick Kid. As Aestolia makes it through the Gither room only for the compass. Not what she was looking for, though.
Oh, and Maligord actually hasn't checked library or race game yet because he opted to go straight to Death Mountain after he got the gloves and the boots. It does look like Aestolia is going to continue with these overworld checks and go for Pyramid and Catfish, it looks like.
Yes, at this point, we might even see a dip into the Pass of Darkness.
And looks like Maligord is heading there right now.
Now, the interesting thing is, our runners can be immediately locked out of this dungeon if there is anything but a small key in the first chest of the Palace of Darkness. Now, there is a minor glitch that has been approved for this tournament by using a bottle to offset the camera to skip the requisites for the bow. Of course, we'll talk a bit more about that if that happens to come up here from Maligord, as we do see Aestolia running her way up to Catfish.
Yeah, both of these runners do have both of them. I know Aestolia picked up the red potion. I'm not sure if Maligord did, but so it is possible to do that potion glitch.
Yes, Maligord did pick it up. So
Already.
that is, yes, he did already visit the Sick Kid.
So small key. So we aren't bow locked out of the dungeon just yet. As Aestolia goes and makes the Catfish Gambit. We'll see if it pays off. And another potion. Alright, we got 3 bottles out of the way.
Although not required, that is definitely a one of the more useful items to find in terms of survivability. Especially if it already comes pre-filled with a potion.
We see Maligord opting to go straight for the back room, skipping the vanilla big key chest and the drop-down chest. Which makes total sense because he doesn't actually have the mirror, so routing this place is a little bit of a pain.
Yes, with the mirror, this dungeon becomes a lot easier to route due to the fact that you can just go back to the start and restart your way from there. As we do find an extra key here in the dark basement here of Palace of Darkness.
And the Book of Mudora and Harmless Hellway, I'm not sure if that was in Logic yet, based on the key layouts, but it definitely could be.
I do believe it was because Maligord still has 1 key left, so...
So I know that there are 4 small keys guaranteed to be kind of in the front half of pod. So the bowlock section has to have neither location in the bowlock section has to have a key in order for the back half to actually be in Logic, I believe. But I'm not 100% sure on that.
Meanwhile, though, it doesn't look like there is a key in the vanilla big key chest. But does luckily find one afterwards. Meanwhile, Aestolia are going to use the hook shot to do a little optimization within Eastern Palace. Of course, in a vanilla game, you pretty much never are able to do this strat.
And it looks like Maligord is opting to leave pod and not check the dark maze, because he did have a key that he could have checked the dark maze, but maybe not too comfortable with the dark rooms there, because that is one of the harder ones.
One could say it's an amazing dark room.
I giggled a little bit before I pressed my push to talk.
Sorry, chat. As we do find Bombos, which is our access into Turtle Rock.
It's also our access into Ice Palace.
Ooh, very true. As we find sword number 3, ladies and gentlemen. This seed is throwing a lot of safeties at our runners here. Already at blue mail, 13 hearts, level 3 sword, as well as 3 bottles.
So I think based on what we've seen, it seems like Ice Palace might be the next play.
At this point, it is pretty much the last location left for our runners to check here. Meanwhile, Aestolia, no trouble getting through that dark room, will be getting the second to last item location here. Opts to go for the vanilla strategy and developer intended route of clearing out all the enemies to make the anti-fairies disperse from the pot, allowing you to pick it up and activate the switch. Only for the compass, though, will be opting to save the quit and head on out. As I do believe that Maligord is going to retrace Aestolia's steps here.
And Aestolia is going to make the Ice Palace play. Yeah, I don't think there really is that many other places left to check, combined with our commentator knowledge, because Maligord cleared out pretty much most of pod that was in sequence for us.
Yes, progression pretty much has to be in Ice Palace at this point. Now, of course, having the hook shot will make Ice Palace routing a bit more convenient. As we get the first item here.
Yeah, fun little fact is that according to the big data sheet that was posted by Christos Owen, Ice Palace is the palace that was least likely to have progression out of all the dungeons. It's a little fun fact there.
Interesting. Of course, it is a dungeon that that most runners will, which most runners prefer to avoid altogether due to it being quite a convoluted dungeon. Unfortunately, missing the crystal switch here. Has to expend another bomb here. As we see Maligord pick up his Master Sword, his level 2 sword here. Of course, Maligord still has yet to visit Skullwoods for his third sword. Of course, without the Fire Rod, the incentive to go to Skullwoods is quite significantly lower. Of course, it being almost immediately available after Darkwood access does give some people a reason enough to visit it.
All right, for a second I thought Aestolia wasn't going to go for the bomb jump, but she is. If she doesn't do the bomb jump and a key ends up being on Cold Stare, that means the Cane of Samaria was logically needed to finish the dungeon. So she might have not been able to finish the dungeon if she didn't do the bomb jump. Having a little bit of trouble. Might use the red potion. Yeah, it looks like she's going to use the red potion for a little bit of safety. I think they have 2 red potions and a fairy, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that's correct. Now, I believe we also see Maligord here going for the Ice Palace play. Of course, considering what this seed has... Oh, careful. Aestolia almost strips off the platform here.
It's the worst feeling when you get the bomb jump but then fall off right afterwards.
Yeah, you're right back to square one after that one. Oh, it does look that that she fell, unfortunately.
She is opting to forgo the bomb jump, so we'll have to see what the key layout is. See if Cold Stare holds the key.
Oh, Maligord making sure he is still on the right track here. Aestolia coming up here on the Vanilla Big Key location.
Oh, I didn't realize it, but Aestolia almost ran out of bombs, so I guess that's the reason why she decided to forego the bomb jump, so that she can use the bomb for the rest of the dungeon.
Oh yes, that is definitely also a pretty important thing is to keep track of your resources, not only for your arrows, small keys, and bombs, but also for Ruby's hearts as well as magic.
I've definitely made the mistake of getting to Ganon with 0 arrows and having to do silverless strats, even with silvers.
Ooh, that's got to hurt. If you can just see them at the top of the screen there, being like, yes, you have the weapon required to beat this pig, but you know, you still need to fire them. As we do see Aestolia in the double ice skipper room. Freezer room, sorry.
Just a red rupee, man. This seed is not giving them much to work with.
So far, it has been pretty bare bones indeed. Now, at this point, our progression could be in Desert Palace. Of course, Desert Palace being a pendant, our runners would would like to avoid Pendant Dungeons if at all possible, but if a next progression item is there, then I believe that will be the only choice here for Aestolia after this.
I wasn't keeping track of item counts, but I believe there's one item left here, and it is on Cold Stare.
Yes, it does look like we are going to get the full clear here. Now, as you mentioned earlier, I do believe that it is required to use Decana Samaria on the button there.
Yep, I think she did find both small keys, so she is doing this the intended vanilla route of hitting the switch down here and then going back up to push the block down. Oh, that's right. We actually haven't gotten to see a Tower of Hera check yet.
Oh yes, that is definitely been available for us since we do have the hammer as well as the hook shot.
Yeah, I think both runners, since they didn't have the mirror, they opted to just save and quit and go other places. It's annoying to have to go all the way around to get to Hera without the mirror.
It is definitely a long way around. Now, of course, the mirror could still be in Tower of Hera.
Yeah, you can see the consequences of not doing the bomb jump here. Aestolia has to go all the way back around through Ice Tea up to the giant freezing floor room. I'm not really sure what it's called, but then it has to drop back down to the left side to where the big chest is to go around.
Ooh, having a bit of trouble with this fire rod here, or fire bar rather. So we do see Maligord dropping down into the cold stuff fight here. Of course, lacking the fire rod, only has the choice of using bombos here, but a Master Sword cold step fight is definitely not something that is as ideal, because both runners do have the hammer. If only the hammer hitbox was actually predictable.
Having red mail in this fight is so nice because instead of doing, I believe, 4 hearts of damage by a puff, it's lowered to 2. Opting to switch to spin strats after some hammer misses. I personally do not like using the hammer for this fight, so I will take longer and do some slashes with the Master Sword.
Yes, I have personally had a scene where it was required to, well, it wasn't necessarily required to do hammer cold stare, but I died one hit away from getting last path here. But thankfully, Maligord did not die in this fight. Gets his second crystal here.
Unfortunately, only the single arrow. Looks like Desert or Hera might be the only place we have left to check.
It does look like our progression is locked on the top of Death Mountain here.
And it looks like that's exactly where he's going. We'll see if this is finally where our progression ends up being. So, Stan, what do you think our next progression item is going to be? Because we are still missing a lot of items.
Yes, at this point, I am hoping to maybe find a lamp which leads to the bow in basement, which leads to something at Armored Knights. I don't think I have ever seen getting the fire source required for the basement in Hera, and then the basement having something. I think that would be quite an interesting turn of events here.
That would be quite interesting, as Aestolia takes down Coldstare no problem. You can see the difference that Tempered and Mastered have in this fight. As we get an Ether Tablet check from Maligord, and it's the Silver Arrows.
That is a very
Paying off
nice
nicely
to
for
have, especially if, as my prediction said, that the bow is in here. That will give us access to one of the most powerful items in the game here.
And since Aestolia still hasn't actually dipped into Pod yet, she doesn't have the book to go check that Ether Tablet. But we are getting a King's Tomb check. This is something that actually has been open for a while since they got the mitts. But I don't think either runner has checked this yet. Just $50 though.
Meanwhile, Maligord making his way up the tower here will be coming up on the big chest. Of course, with the hook shot, you can completely skip having to do either the bomb jump or the developer intended strat. As we find the Kana Sumaria in the compass chest in Tower of Hera.
If that ends up being our progression item, dipping into Fire Rodless Turtle Rock, maybe?
Oh, I'm sure our runners would completely hate that. But of course, it is an excellent item to move this seed along.
Yeah, depending on the key layout of Turtle Rock, Fire Rod can actually be anywhere on the laser bridge if we as viewers end up getting lucky to witness that.
That would indeed be interesting as Maligord takes down Moldorm.
And a piece of heart, so no basement for us today.
Aestolia, looks like there was like a 50 rupee in the purple chest. Not what our runners need here.
But it does look like she is going up Death Mountain, so we'll be rewarded with the Kana Sumaria very soon.
It does look like Maligord is opting to just go ahead and take the dive into Turtle Rock here. Aestolia almost through the cave here. We'll be unlocking her Death Mountain save point.
And this is really the perfect setup to get a triple dip into Turtle Rock. If we find something in here that leads to the Fire Rod, which leads to something back in here that leads to the Ice Rod. But actually, Turtle Rock's a pendant, so they don't actually have to full clear it. My mistake.
Yes, our runners will be looking to avoid as much as this dungeon as they can here.
So if this first chest isn't a small key, then that's the last chest you're going to open in here. Ooh boy. And so we go down the rabbit hole that is Pendant Turtle Rock.
Now, at this point, you are still looking for quite a lot of items. So I suppose it's not that big of a gamble, but it's still one of those things that you'd rather not do if at all avoidable. Thankfully, Maligord remembering he does not have the Fire Rod to
And there's the bow. Oh my gosh, bow
Oh,
and Turtle
no.
Rock. Name a more iconic duo.
Maligord taking a deep thought here, figuring out where he wants to go.
That was actually an interesting chain of events because they wanted you to go into Dark Death Mountain to get the hammer, but then save and quit, go back up to Hera to get the cane, to get into Turtle Rock to get that bow.
Oh wow, that is indeed a pretty cruel sequence. Because since a couple of versions of the randomizers, save and quits have been put into logic.
And the crazy thing is that the bow actually doesn't unlock really anything for Maligord because we still don't have that lamp.
The one thing it does unlock is it's the Amos Knights in the Eastern Palace, as there was a dungeon item in the Vanilla Biki chest. So the lamp is not required to beat Eastern Palace. So it'll be interesting to see what the last item is, as I do believe there is still one more. But Maligord is opting to check out the Bolok part of Pod first.
Oh, I completely forgot about this part. Yeah, there's, I believe, a key and an item left over here, so this might be it.
Aestolia into the Modern fight. 2 hits here with the spin strats will be enough to take down the Mildome. Fortunately, neither of our runners takes the full here, as Maligord picks up the big key.
So if I'm not mistaken, the rest of the chests and the rest of the items in here are lamp locked, so there still could be progression, but it will be out of sequence.
Yes, you are correct on that one, but we might actually see Maligord taking the gamble with the dark room here, as he has shown us that he is at least familiar with dark rooms. Ooh.
Oh, but you know what? I think that getting that right side last key does unlock that book that he got in Harmless Hellway is, I think, in logic now with the bow. So I think we might be seeing people head over to Desert for our next progression item. Looked like he was gonna do a bomb jump, but just noped out of there. And let's see if he can navigate this dark maze.
As we find Sanctuary Heart in the top left maze chest here, while Aestolia goes ahead and opens up Turtle Rock, will be receiving her bow as well. Now, with Aestolia not being having been over to the Palace of Darkness, I do believe that we will see a similar play here.
Looks like he's a little bit lost, but he is still moving, so that's always a good sign. It's always nice to have the map of this kind of up on your second monitor. I'm not exactly sure what was in that chest. It could have been either the map or the compass.
No, that was Ether.
Oh!
Oh my. Now, I do believe that is our access into Misery Mire as well. So both of our medallion dungeons are open to these runners.
But where is that lamp that they needed to get that ether? Man.
Ooh, that is indeed very interesting because this tells us that it at least cannot be within Misery Mire, as it does require a dark room block item to get in. And of course, this being a no glitches logic, the game will not assume that you know how to do dark rooms. Of course, both of our runners having shown no trouble at all with dark rooms here.
It does look like Maligord is going to go ahead and take a stab at the basement of Pod dark rooms. These are probably the hardest dark rooms in the game, in my opinion, just because of the turtle room and how unpredictable that is if you don't know where they are.
Yes, and definitely considering that we don't have a fire either to light the torch. As we do see Aestolia taking up the boat's offer of completing the Eastern Palace here.
Yeah, and having just Master Sword doesn't actually kill the turtles in one swing. You have to either spin or use two slashes to kill them. Makes it even harder. All right, here we go. Let's see how Maligord does in these rooms.
Thankfully, does have sword beams here, saves a single menu here.
Now, one strat you could use in this room are use the hammer a couple times and then switch over to either the Ether or the Bombos medallion to knock out the turtles that are flipped over. But it does look like he's making really good work of these turtles. Wow, that was super quick. Props. Meanwhile, Aestolia is battling the Dark Room of Pod, trying to kill the Igor that has the key. Having a little bit of... Oh, no. Got it. No biggie.
Yes, of course, any of the dark rooms without the fire rods will become substantially easier, as you're not able to just light one of the torches. As Maligord does successfully complete the fourth dark room here. Now he is currently in the like right in front of the boss door. There we go, into the Halmasaur fight.
So a little interesting bit there. In that room after the turtle rooms where you have to push the block and go into the warp, it looked like he was actually getting hit by a turtle, and I know that it's possible for a turtle to kind of like clip into the room and have a turtle attack you, which is a little bit scary in the dark because you're not expecting a turtle to be in that room, because there's normally not. But with silver arrows, Halmasaur goes down in one single arrow to the dome, and we get some crystal sync as Aestolia takes out the Armos Knights.
Yes, definitely. I have been scared many times by a random turtle just walking through a wall. Of course, Maligord not having the mirror to combo Eastern Palace here will opt to save and quit. And by looks of things, Aestolia is going to finish off Palace of Darkness herself here.
It looks like they're just swapping places with each other. Still staying in the same area, but swapping Light World and Dark World.
Yes, definitely not a bad idea to complete a couple of mundane tasks, such as completing dungeons that you've already pretty much cleared out, such as on Maligord's side here, because that does allow you to take just a little bit of a breather and recompose yourself, figure out your best course of action.
And at this point, I think there's really not much we can check other than Desert.
That is true, of course. Aestolia still has to retrieve that book here. Now, of course, Maligord being able to complete Lampless Palace of Darkness is going to have no trouble at all with this upcoming Igor room. Oop, accidentally hit one of these spaghetti monsters there.
A
Now,
little
if
bit of a
he-
commentator's curse right there.
That may or may not have been my fault. Now, once
Looks
you...
like he's resetting the room.
Yeah, and also healing up a little bit. I don't blame him at all. Once you lose track of the Igor, it can be pretty much impossible to find him again.
Gets the key. Second try, no problem. So let's see. In terms of go mode, since yeah, they don't have to complete Turtle Rock, so they don't need the Ice Rod. Swamp Palace is a crystal, so they will need that mirror eventually. So it looks like all we're missing is the lamp, the fire rod, and the mirror for go mode.
Yes, that is correct. Of course, also including any items that lead to those items, such as the powder mushroom, or cape, or shovel, for that matter.
A lot of fetch quest items still out there. And since Maligord has the silver arrows, this fight will be no problem at all for him as he picks up his blueberries.
Yes, I hope you didn't blink, ladies and gentlemen, because it's already over. Maligord getting his 5th crystal here.
And he is heading straight over to Mire. So we did get the Ether Medallion in a dark room, so we can't find the lamp here. But any of the other items are good to go.
Definitely. Now, with this being the vanilla medallion, we might even see a Bertos here. Which I'm pretty sure that chat will be pretty hyped about. There we go. Bye, bird.
Hey, got it.
Of course, we have both of the means to get in there, both hookshot as well as the boots there. Now, Mire is one of those dungeons that runners also would like to save for last, as it is one of the more larger dungeons. Now, Mire in Go mode versus Mire in full clip might even not differ by very much depending on where the big key is located.
Yeah, normally if this chest that Maligord is checking right now is the big key, then we would call it a Godmire because then you can just head up straight to the boss because you don't really need any small keys to get to the boss.
That is true, as we do see Aestolia picking up the book and safe putting him out of there.
So opts not to do the dark maze or kill Helmasaur, but might be deciding to stay in sequence and look for that lamp before coming back here.
It does look like she is taking the breadcrumbs that the seed is giving her to go ahead and check out the desert palace here.
If lamp does end up being in desert, it's a forced double dip into pod.
Ouch. You also don't like to see that.
We also got a forced double dip into Eastern because the Bombos was there to get into Turtle Rock to get the bow.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about that. This seed has.
Oh, and the fire rod on the torch.
Oh, that is huge. Now it
So
does
not the
give.
lamp, but yeah, it's a really good item. And it, yeah, I'm pretty sure you were about to say this, but it does give Skull Woods clearable.
Definitely, it is one of the 2 fire sources. So now with that in hand, we also have the ability to full clear this. Of course, being a pendant, I run rather not. So we'll just have to see whether or not we can find both of the items there. There will be only one left, as we did find that fire rod earlier.
And if I do remember correctly, Skullwood still has 1 item left on the table, so that could be it.
Yes, so we do get to see first look into Spike Cave here. Now, with the amount of hearts and having 2 bottles available, this will not be any trouble. Ooh, oh, barely makes it through though, only for a bundle of arrows. One interesting strat that runners can utilize there is behind the torches there are no spike tiles, so you are pretty much safe from damage. So what you can then do is boost yourself with a bomb in order to get invincibility frames. And if you have red mail, bombs will, I believe, only do half a heart of damage. And that way, if you are running a bit low on health, you can still complete it.
And we do see Aestolia opting to clear desert completely and kill Lanmolas. I believe there's still an item left in desert, so it could pay off for her. And as Chad is pointing out, the Fire Rod also unlocks more of Turtle Rock if our runners opted to go back there.
That would be pretty hype to see. Ice Rod on Laser Bridge, followed by Mire. Mire is pretty much the only item that we are still looking for.
And technically the lamp, but these runners seem like they know what they're doing with their dark room, so it might not be 100% necessary for them.
Yes, both these runners have definitely shown great skill and great awareness of this game. Meanwhile, Maligord, doubling back on the Lumberjack Cave here, did not check it on his first time around due to his unfortunate encounter.
Only 50 rupees on Landmo, so, but that pendant does mean that it's progression towards an item location that is known as the pedestal.
Oh yes, that is very much still on the table.
Yeah, we still need to find Ice Rod, but if we do find the Ice Rod, then yeah, the pedestal is open. It does look like Aestolia is not going for a ped check, but it looks like she's going to go straight into Skullwoods and utilizing that newly found Fire Rod. Unfortunately, since they don't have a mirror, you can't mirror after killing the boss to see, to do a ped check, actually. So we'll have to see if anybody does that.
So I guess what we would have to see here is the last item to be the mirror. as Maligord does opt to safety frog here, as Aestolia will be making her way into the back of Skullwoods. Is going to face off against Mothula. Of course, at this point, having Tempered Sword, 14 hearts, as well as Red Mail, I doubt this will be any trouble. Of course, the moth fight is still a bit tricky due to a slight oversight in the game's coding. Because in the boss room of Mothula, the outline is rimmed completely with spikes. Now, enemies in this game also take damage from spike tiles. So, in order to make sure that Mothula does not take out himself on the spikes, they coded him to not take damage from the spikes. So if Aestolia happens to knock Mothula into the spikes, it won't do any damage.
Meanwhile, Maligord is making his first dip into Skullwoods. He will be rewarded with the Tempered, but unfortunately he will have to come back here after he gets his Fire Rod in Desert.
As we do get a fortunate pattern here from Mothula deciding to stay down a bit lower. Though, of course, Mothula being Mothula, moves on up to his comfortable top position here. Aestolia still has to be careful, even with Red Mail. Damage can be racked up pretty quick in this fight. So we do see Maligord getting his 2 keys here. Aestolia deciding to heal up. Of course, anything is better than dying to Mothula, as we find the map as well as our second pendant.
So it looks like the chest under the bridge contains our last item location for Skullwoods. We'll have to see if that ends up being our progression.
That is definitely still true, as Maligord picks up his Temper Sword. Unfortunately, can obviously not clear the entire dungeon, as you mentioned earlier, due to lack of Fire Rod.
And there's the lamp.
Wow.
I think that is the most convoluted lamp placement I've ever seen.
Yeah, that is quite an interesting place for them to be. With how all these required items have been laid out here. Now, unfortunately, the lamp does not actually unlock anything for our runners, as they have shown that they are comfortable with dark rooms. But it does look like Aestolia is going to take that lamp and complete the rest of Palace of Darkness here.
So just to recap, I believe you got the hammer in Dark Death Mountain. To save and quit, go to Hera to get the cane, and go into Turtle Rock to get the bow, to go into Pod to get the book, to get the Fire Rod in Desert, to finally get the lamp in Skullwoods.
Oh my god, that is definitely a route for the ages there. Of course, now with the acquisition of the lamp, that does put all the dark rooms back into logic. As we do see Maligord here, going to check out Agina's cave. I don't believe Aestolia has visited Agina yet. I could be mistaken though.
I think she has. I want to say it was something useless, but I'm not 100% sure. But I'm pretty sure that Maligord will be going into desert right afterwards, as Aestolia picks up her Ether Medallion. Now, I don't remember how far that Maligord went into Mire. I know that he dipped into Mire. I actually don't remember how much he cleared in it.
I believe Maligord forwent the left side completely. But meanwhile, in the light world, we will be visiting the desert palace here. We'll be receiving his shiny new fire rod. Well, I say new, we don't know how long that fire rod has been on that torch.
It's been keeping that torch lit for who knows how long.
Oh yeah, I hadn't realized that. Pretty fitting, fire rod on a torch. Still, yeah, heading on downstairs here in just a few moments.
So right now our runners are kind of going through each other's footsteps. I think pretty much all the overworld, other than Mire locations, has been checked. So maybe a double dip into Turtle Rock? Question mark.
I do hope so. Finding the mirror. The mirror can pretty much be anywhere within Turtle Rock, with the exception of the Mimic Cave. Of course, Mimic Cave is technically not part of Turtle Rock, but honestly, the only time that you are going to check the Mimic Room is when you visit Turtle Rock, of course.
And with that lamp in hand, that does mean that Laser Bridge will be in logic.
Oop, it's still having a little bit of trouble with the turtles flipping back up, but gets to the room without little trouble. Without much trouble, rather. So we do see Maligord heading his way towards the land molars fighter.
We see Aestolia still doesn't have the silver arrows that were on Ether Tablet, but with Tempered, doesn't make too big of a difference, and gets Helmasaur down pretty quickly.
Yes, only requiring a couple of swings here to the green jewel here. Will be rewarded with her crystal as well. Meanwhile, we get to see Maligord version of this fight here. One head is already down, as we do see Aestolia. Oh, never mind, I am mistaken once more. Oh, she might be stocking up on potions.
She also might opt to go into Misery Mire just because that's a crystal and it could have your Go Mode item.
That does indeed seem like the more likely play here. and by Aestolia equipping Ether, it is pretty much confirmed as Maligord is following closely behind there. Is probably looking to finish off what he started.
So with that fire rod in hand, he can actually check the left side now. But it does look like, because he is dipping in here, he is kind of foregoing the lamp requirement and is probably just going to do the dark rooms, as I'm sure with what he's seen, he'll be very capable of doing so.
Yes, at this point, we have almost seen every single dark room in this game, so while you're at it, might as well go for the full package here. Of course, that will give a slight advantage to Aestolia being able to see more clearly where she's going, but Randomizer being randomized, so this could still be anyone's race.
I'm not sure how many items that Maligord found, but by the looks of it, I don't think he found all of them, because he is checking this this long cutscene room.
Yes, little fun fact about this long cutscene is this cutscene takes the exact same amount of time as the Palace of Darkness cutscene, but due to the fact that you cannot actually see the wall move, it has more of a psychological effect in appearing to have a longer duration.
I actually did not know that. That's a really cool fun fact.
So we do only get rewarded with the compass. So I do believe that means that Vitreous does have an item, I believe. I've not been closely keeping count myself, but I do believe that that because Maligord is still checking out of the way chests, that there is still an item waiting.
Yeah, I guess he still has the big key chests, and I'm not sure if he checked the chest next to the big key chest while he was in here in the beginning.
I do believe he has. And with that, it does pretty much confirm that Vitreous is going to hold out on us for the last item here. Meanwhile, Aestolia in the exact same cutscene here. But of course, this is Aestolia's first dip into this dungeon, so we might see a little bit more exploration here.
Yeah, well, Aestolia still hasn't picked up the silvers yet, so the Vitreous fight is going to be a lot more. I don't want to say a lot, but a little bit more difficult for her. And we'll see how Maligord does in this Mire Dark room. This first room is the room that a lot of people are a little bit scared of, just because putting the block on the switch isn't difficult. It's just kind of doing that while dodging the constant fireballs that are thrown your way. That's a little bit of an issue.
As well as the block's tendency to be moved by Link as well. And for some reason, the hitbox for the switch in this room, it just feels so much smaller than all the rest of them.
Does opt to use his red potion. He still has a fairy, so he should feel comfortable doing this.
Yes, of course, opting to use the potion instead of the fairy ass, that does save a little bit of time if you can avoid a death.
Yeah, what he's trying to do is line himself up with the bottom left corner of the room, try to move one tile to the right, and if you throw up, the block will land on the switch every time.
Maligord has to be careful, down to 2 hearts again. Oh, unfortunately though, the room gets the better of him. Though, as we mentioned earlier, he still has that fairy, which will revive him for 50% of his health. And there we go, gets through. Of course, a couple more dark rooms to go here, but definitely not as difficult as the previous one. As we do see the difference that the lamp does make here for Aestolia, being able to actually see where she's splitting down the block here.
Yeah, the rest of these dark rooms aren't too bad. I guess they kind of go downhill in terms of difficulty. The first room's the hardest, and the last room's... Although, he does have to be a little bit careful. He just fell down the hole, and he has to get past this spike again.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yes, unfortunately, without any invincibility safeties, unfortunately, it takes a death hit to the spike.
Decides to leave completely, yeah.
Yes, I would almost expect him to go clear that Skullwood. Of course, we as commentators know exactly where he needs to go to get the lamp. As our runners are playing this completely blind, completely separated from each other as well. As to keep the race as fair as possible. Meanwhile, though, we are getting some bomb strats here. Always fun to see those. Of course, if you like the escape, then this will be right up your alley as well.
Unfortunately, bombs only do a Master Sword slash of damage to these eyeballs, so you'll need quite a few bombs to get rid of these eyeballs.
As Aestolia opting instead to switch over to sword spams here. Of course, still a very valid strategy.
And it looks like Maligord might be going for the Turtle Rock dip.
Ooh, definitely an interesting play here.
I think he definitely feels behind after what happened in Escape and taking that death there right before Vitreous. So yes. I think he's making a few gambles. And only bombs on Vitreous, so this gamble might pay off for Maligord if Mire ends up being on Laser Bridge or somewhere in Turtle Rock. Although anticipating the one dark room in Turtle Rock, he did pick up some potions, so shouldn't have too much trouble with the Turtle Rock dark room, hopefully.
Yes, definitely. At this point, I don't think that Maligord is unfamiliar with any of the dark rooms in this game.
And we see Aestolia following closely in Maligord's footsteps, heading up to Turtle Rock, because there really aren't that many places left to check.
Now, of course, with the acquisition of the Fire Rod, we are able to check the 4 torch chests there. Maligord, using the invincibility of the hookshot here, finds a small key and the mirror itself.
And there it is! Maligord's not in 100% of Go mode because he still doesn't have the lamp, but if he wants to go back and do the Dark Room of Mire, he is in Go mode, I believe.
Definitely, and considering what we have seen, that does look like a 1 hour and 49-minute go mode here if Maligord forgoes the lamp here, as Aestolia does pick up her silver arrows. You know, Maligord wasting no time at all, diving straight into the Swan Palace. Of course, the one fortunate thing about Mire being your go mode item, that does mean that you get to do Swamp pretty much the fastest way that you can do it in go mode.
Oh, so one thing is that the mirror actually wasn't lamp locked. So Maligord might be thinking that the lamp could be in Swamp, so he may opt to check some chests to look for that lamp to help him clear Mire. But we do know that it is not here, it is in Skull Woods.
Yes, of course. Swan Palace being the single largest dungeon in the game at 6 unique items here.
So as the seed turns out, all 3 pendants were required in some form. The Turtle Rock as a pendant was a required double dip, and the Eastern and Pod were also required double dips.
Oh yeah, you are correct on that one. That is quite cruel. Thankfully though, it doesn't look like the pedestal is of very much importance, which is also a bonus. For our runners, that is. Not very much for us.
Yeah, it's really hard to have a pedestal seed when you see that Turtle Rock is indeed a pendant, because there are so many items required for that dungeon.
Yes, even technically, Ganon's Tower has less requirements than Turtle Rock. Of course, depending on the placement of the big key, only needing a handful of items, whereas simply accessing Turtle Rock as well as beating it, requires quite a checklist of items.
And we do see Maligord checking these chests in Swamp Palace, looking for that lamp to see if he can help him through that Mire Dark Room, which is pretty much the last kind of Dark Room he needs to do. He is opting to skip left side though, so we'll see if he ends up just kind of skipping it and going straight to Mire to do the Dark Rooms once again with a little more safeties, or if he decides to go back in to dive into left side Swamp.
Meanwhile, though, finding not much of value here in Swamp Palace. Of course, at this point, there is not really anything that can help our runners here. Maybe if they find, like the cave that can make the Ganon fight a bit easier. But as it stands now, with 15 hearts, level 3 sword as well as red mail.
Yeah, with Tempered Sword, these puffs go down in one swing. You just alternate BY, BY, and Argus is pretty much all dead.
Yes, very quick fighter indeed. Oh. Switching over to the silver arrows here for the final blow to Argus. gets the snipe. Nicely done there from Maligord. Gets his arrow boost, and with that, his second to last crystal.
If Maligord decides to forego the lamp and just go straight into Mire and finish it up, this will end up being a really close race. I think they're pretty. All he has left is to finish up Mire, but he does in fact go inside to check left side. This will cost him a little bit of time.
Definitely. I mean, considering that it is still this close with what unfortunately happened with Maligord earlier in this seed, that just goes to show you that that these runners are still nothing to sneeze at in terms of their execution and skill at this game. Big Chest only holding the compass for today, as Aestolia is dealing with the R guy here. As you mentioned earlier, always nice to not have to do manual strats here. Opting to use sword spins here instead of the silver arrow. Only takes 2 slashes, so it's not too big of a time loss. Of course, the sword spin technique will do damage equivalent of 1 level above the sword that you have, with the exception of the golden sword, which caps out at level 4 damage.
And with that crystal, Aestolia now has 7 crystals and is ready to go into Ganon's tower.
Now, there is a long-standing tradition here at the Link to the Past Randomizer here.
Yeah, so the GT Big Key, there are 22 locations in Ganon's tower that it could be, and we like to play a little guessing game. Unfortunately, we are not on a speed gaming channel, so we won't have the bot for official records, but you guys can still all guess the number to see which chest it's in, and if you do get it right, you get honorable mentions.
Yes, exactly.
I'm gonna go ahead and guess. I'm gonna say chest 16.
16. I shall go a bit lower though. I'm predicting it's going to be in number 10 here. Still double digits, but still nice enough to be a fairly quick GT.
And unfortunately, we do see Maligord still searching for that lamp. Going to go check Bombo's tablet.
Of course, as you mentioned earlier, the mirror not being blocked behind lamp. Of course, we as commentators already know that does get rewarded with another heart container, but at this point, it's not really what he needs. But it does look like he is going to make the play into Skull Woods here.
He will shortly be in go mode, and oh, that's not the right way. Uh-oh.
Oh dear.
Oh, he's going to go check Graveyard Ledge.
Oh yes, and then he's going to loop around via the eastern side of the. Go with no. Never mind. Oh, he's checking out all of his other loose mirror locations.
So not in chest 1 or 2, not on the torch. Opting to use the key door that separates the left and the right side. A lot of people choose to kind of skip that in case that they use up all their keys and they have to go searching for that last key. But we will do our best to try to count the chests.
So far, no big key yet, as we are still checking chests. 50 rupees, as well as the cape.
The cape's going to be really nice for Ganon, so that for phase 2 they can just use their cape and just slash away.
Yeah, so it's definitely one of the more useful stages to have, as we get to see the firebar room here.
And Maligord finally making the play into Skullwoods will be rewarded with Go Mode with the lamp. And we'll only have Mire to finish up.
Now, it will be interesting to see whether or not Maligord decides to check the chest first and then maybe go to Mothula, or if he just goes straight to Moth.
Yeah, I think with the mirror, it's definitely better to check that bottom chest. When Aestolia was here, she didn't have the mirror, so it made sense to beat Mothula first to get the teleport back to check the bridge chest.
Well, that is true, as we do indeed see Maligord checking the lamp chest first. There will be in true go mode at 2 hours. Number 10, just a piece of heart. Bomb upgrade, 20 rupees, and only a hard piece. Random room not paying out right now. Meanwhile, we will see Maligord here, hopping back into Mire with his newly acquired lamp. We'll be able to shred through those dark rooms now, of course being able to see where he's going.
Yeah,
we do get to
go ahead.
As we do get to see Bob here.
So, Maligord just has Go Mode Mire left. He does have Silvers for Vitreous. It'll be pretty quick. And if the big key does end up being on the right side, and he goes right side, he can make up quite a bit of time. So it's not over yet.
Definitely, this could still come down to Ganon style execution here, as we do take care of the ice armors. It'll be interesting to see if we get a vanilla big key today. As we find the mirror shield as well as powder.
So my guess to 16 was not right. Looks like the big key is either in Tile Room, which would be the cherry on top of this seed, or it's on the right side in the Compass Room.
Yes, of course. Statistically, there are 4 chests still in the Compass Room, compared to the 1 chest here in the Tile Room, but it does look like Aestolia is taking a lead up on this seed with how convoluted and trolly it has been so far. Makes use of a nice little glitch here by equipping the cape and holding the wall. The game will not actually drain your magic, so you can just stay there for as long as you want.
It's another example of how one of many examples of how Link to the Past actually doesn't really know how to compute 2 things at once. That's the same reason why while you're slashing with the cape on, you won't drain any magic. So if you spam your sword with the cape activated, you'll drain hardly any magic.
Interesting. That could definitely come in handy to know all of these little ins and outs of this game.
And with silver arrows, Vitreous fight is pretty much a joke and gets him down in the blink of an eye.
I see what you did there.
Except Vitreous actually doesn't have eyelids, so I don't think he can blink, can he?
Well, I suppose that the goo will suffice, as he does pop in and out of the goo. Anyway, onto some more, onto some more appetizing topics. We find the ice rod there, as well as the mushroom and the bicky in. Oh my god!
Chest number 20 is the right
20.
answer, and
20 indeed. This seed has been, wow, what a roller coaster of a ride this has been.
all the Y items were just sitting in GT all along.
It seems like Ganon is learning from placing his items. Now, if only he were to place the bow or the hammer in his tower.
Also, it looks like nobody guessed chest number 20, so you guys need to step it up a little bit in the next race.
Yeah, no, that's unfortunately no honorable mention. Although who does deserve an honorable mention or an honorable shout out is as our tracker as well as our restreamer, who are obviously working hard behind the scenes to make our jobs easier and to actually bring you this amazing race here.
Meanwhile, Maligord is finally entering GT. Let's see if he decides to make the decision to go right. He can gain a lot of time if he decides to go there, because there were 2 small keys on the first 2 chests of the right side, so he could opt to go there if he wanted to.
Yes, that would definitely regain Maligord quite a big heap of time, actually. If he decides to skip the time room, then that's even more time gained there, as we see Aestolia starting her gauntlet here. Of course, the gauntlet is the epitome of the game being the final obstacle. Just simply a set of rooms with kill all the enemies. Really wanted that single rupee then.
And Maligord does decide to go right side first, so he will be rewarded with an early big key.
Ooh, this race is indeed very much still on here between these 2 runners. As Aestolia moves on to the Landmola's refight here, does choose to Palo the Ferry, which whenever this room is entered, the room with the anti-ferry, the Landmola cycle will already start. So if you slow down even a little bit, the Landmolas will pop up together most of the time.
So although Maligord did get the early key, that means he is missing out on some safety items such as the cape and the powder.
Oh, that is very true indeed, as Aestolia did find those on the left side. Meanwhile, beautiful mimic room here from Maligord. Oh, the one Wizrobe giving Aestolia a little bit of trouble though. Likewise, Maligord having a little trouble maneuvering the mimic here. Gets through in a timely fashion, though, as Aestolia is lighting up the torches. Now, one thing you have to be careful of in that room, if you light all the torches, but you linger for just a bit too long, if you enter the door at the same time as when it closes, you will actually confuse the game, and that will cause all of these sprites to despawn, which might sound pretty awesome because there will be no enemies for you to fight, but Aghanim is also a sprite as well as Moldorm, so that will make the tower incompletable.
Yeah, Aghanim's the big one because some people, if they're good at hovering, they can hover across the gap of Moldorm too, but there's no way they can kill Aghanim. And this glitch is also another example of how the game can't really process two things at once.
Meanwhile, though, Moldorm 2 has been defeated. Oh, we get a little juked for the last chest in the game here. Only a big 20, which is pretty fitting, as I believe that was also our first item, or it was a rupee anyway. That's as much as I remember.
Yeah, using some cape strats in that room, you definitely don't want to get bounced around in that room because it's really hard to get back on track with those mini Helmosaurs pushing you around.
Definitely. Thankfully, though, the bumpers don't actually deal any damage. So Aestolia is in the Aghanim 2 fight, a bit of a mix-up battle from Aghanim 1. Of course, we didn't get to see that in this seed, but in this fight, Aghanim will split himself into 3 pieces. Now, that does give the opportunity for a significantly faster Aghanim fight, being able to reflect a potentially three magical orbs here.
And down goes Aga 2, and all that's left is Ganon. Now, I believe she still does have some potions left, so she can definitely utilize. Ooh, half magic in the mini Helmosaur chest.
That is a very nice safety item to find, especially when you are about to face Ganon as well. Meanwhile, though, Aestolia already into the fight will be working her way through phase number 1 here. Of course, now with Aestolia in the second phase and not having half magic, as well as being down half her meter, she will be looking to perhaps get a minor glitch in the Ganon fight where after phase 3, both of the torches are scripted to go out in order to make Ganon invisible. But if you light the left torch before the right torch ever triggers to go out, the trigger is completely removed from the game, thus saving you exactly half of your magic you would normally have to use to light both of them.
Aestolia makes it to phase 3. Let's see if she can get the torch glitch. It's not a huge deal if she can't, because it is with silvers.
Yes, it definitely makes a bigger impact on silverless Ganon. But thankfully, though, both her runners found these silvers, so there won't be any trouble there, as we do get the first arrow here into Ganon. There we go. As Maligord takes down Aghanim 2.
And I believe there's one more hit.
That is correct. It's still there.
The suspense.
Oh, I just hope that she didn't fall at this point. And it does look
looks like
get your GGs ready in chat, everyone, as Aestolia finishes with an official time of 2 hours, 14 minutes, and 7 seconds. Meanwhile, Maligord into the Gammon fight here. Still a very close race here.
Yeah, considering how much time the Maligord lost in Escape with that rat in sewers, it's heartbreaking to think what could have happened if he got that on his first or second try. Big props to Maligord for not tilting and playing a cool head, even taking some gambles to get kind of back on track. Meanwhile, Maligord is in Phase 3 of Ganon. Shouldn't be too difficult. And with Silvers and Half Magic, hopefully, barring a fall, should be finishing up really quickly.
Yes, this should be a pretty straightforward fight so far. Does miss the Torch Cliffs, of course, with that Half Magic, not going to be any trouble at all. Meanwhile, the silver arrows are flying here. And there it goes. Maligord finishes off Ganon. Will be claiming his Triforce as well as soon as he walks through this door here. As Maligord finishes with an official time of 2 hours, 16 minutes, and 21 seconds. GG's to both of our runners here.
Yeah, that was a fantastic race to watch because it ended up being so close at the end.
Oh, definitely. With barring what happened during the escape sequence, this is still a very close race. Now, it does look like Maligord is unfortunately declining the post-race interview, but we do have Aestolia in the waiting room. I will pull her over right now. Hello there, Aestolia. Congratulations and GG's for that race.
Hello, thank you.
Very welcome. Now, how about that lamp placement?
Oh my gosh, I was so happy that today I spent most of my morning actually practicing a number of dark rooms just because I'm not terribly good at them. But I'm glad I did because that lamp, oh my gosh.
Yes, that is one convoluted sequence to...
What? Pod dip for book, to go to Desert Palace for the fire rod, to get to Skullwoods for the lamp.
And before that, you even had to dip into Turtle Rock to get that bow.
Oh yes, of course. Oh my gosh, double Turtle Rock dip. That was quite the seed.
Yes,
yeah, it was a really great thing to watch.
Definitely exciting to watch indeed. Now, do you have any other thoughts on the seed things you...
Oh man, I was wondering if I was ever going to get a weapon for quite a while. Obviously not as bad as some of the matches earlier today, but I was sitting there with no bombs coming out of Escape and going, well, shit. Oops, sorry.
It's fine. I think nobody heard it. But about the Escape, unfortunately, Maligord did have a little bit of trouble getting the Smoky from the Rat in Escape, which...
Oh. Bombs are pretty nasty for that. I mean, it's a tough one for anyone. That's why I picked up the bomb and I walked into the rat because I knew there was no way I'd do it any other way.
Yeah, I don't know if it was you, but I did see, some bomb tactic strats practicing before the race started.
Yeah, I was a bit worried about a bomb start, just because it is one of the more difficult starts for me. And unfortunately, the one I was practicing, that first blue guard, I didn't pull it off. So when, well, crap. Well, you know, it was just. I'm just glad that I got through the escape without needing to restart it at all.
Unfortunately, your opponent actually, I believe, had to save and quit 7 times before he could get the bomb and rat.
Oh
Yeah,
my
he was
gosh.
getting the rat, but he ended up getting the wrong rat a few times, so that kind of messed him up. Because after you save and quit, you only get 3 bombs at the start of the
Yes.
throne room, so it's a little bit difficult for him.
Oh my. Well, I certainly, yeah, he's a strong competitor, because if not for that, he certainly would have taken this match. Absolutely.
And the cool thing was that he actually took a lot of gambles. He actually dove into Turtle Rock really early and found that bow before you, and was ahead of you for a lot of the seed. But you ended up getting the fire rod off the torch in desert first, and Maligord
Oh
decided
yeah.
to dive into Mire without the lamp, and had a little bit of trouble with the Mire dark rooms, and that allowed you to
Yeah.
catch up back to him.
That's one dark room I can't do. You know, I wouldn't even try that one. So, you know, kudos
Admittedly,
for him.
yes, this seat has definitely been a great display of both of these runners' cunning of this wonderful game here. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about this seed, or?
Really, it was just for a long time I felt I was behind. You know, it was but it was a good seed. I very much enjoy when you're sitting there and you have to go, do I gamble or do I go for the one place I might be able to do? And I love that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, this seed ended up being pretty kind of scarce in the beginning with items and resources, and you guys were kind of checking everywhere left and right, and it ended up just being Tower of Hera with that
And
red cane to get the bow, which you guys actually didn't put off for quite a bit before checking it.
yeah, it's the climb to get back up there, right? To go all the way around. But Ganon's tower, it had everything. 3 shields, powder, both cane, or not both canes, but one of the canes. It was a stacked tower.
Yeah, and unfortunately, in the mini Helmasaur room, there was half magic that Maligord picked up, but you opted to not pick up as well. So
At that point in time, I figured half magic would be nice, but ultimately not needed. So I decided to skip the check.
Fair enough. You did do a wonderful job with the Ganon fight, of course. Coming in first. Of course, again, GG's to you. And with that, I believe we'll be wrapping it up for this race here. Of course, there are plenty more races here, but before we get to that, quick shout-outs to both of our runners here, Maligord as well as Aestolia, for putting up this amazing display here, as well as our restreamer Sinak and our tracker Merc249, as well as my delightful co-commentator Weighty Words. Thank you very much for joining me on this one.
yeah, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. It's a great race to commentate. I didn't know a seed could be that windy. It's so twisted and windy in terms of progression.
Definitely. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about, or?
No, I think it was a good run, a strong competitor, because I certainly felt him on my heels the entire run. So, GG's to Maligord, absolutely.
Yep, GG's to him, and congrats to you. You will move on to 1-1 in the Swiss round, but
Yes, so with that being said, if you are still up for some for some randomizer, we do have Yonker's Wife versus Demon RHK at 12:30 a.m. EDT here, as well as Vinyl Knight versus Bentizi over on Speed Gaming 2, followed at 10 a.m. by JJ Blue versus Chelsea Excellent on Speed Gaming 1. So definitely be sure to check out all our randomizer channels, and yeah, I will see you in the next race. Take care.
GG's everybody.